Hello and welcome back to the Fulhamish YouTube channel, and today we're doing another match preview as Fulham face the Gooners on Sunday. Another difficult test as we look to pick up some more Premier League points. Here to talk all things Arsenal with me is a good mate of mine. We've done a few radio shows together in the past. He's an all-round Gooner fanatic. He's written for Gooner Town, and now he does his own project called A Little Bit Arsenal as well, and you can catch him on the Arsenal Fan Show on Love Sport. It's my pal Dave Seager. Dave, how's it going, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm very well. It's Gunners Town, by the way.
Oh, is it Gunners Town? I thought it was Gooners Town. Sorry, mate. There's so many Arsenal blogs and pods out there. It's hard to keep track.
It is. We're a very popular team.
So, Dave, first question: Are you looking forward to going back to the cottage on Sunday?
Well, unfortunately, I'm not away season ticket holder, so I can't get a ticket to be there. But I know a lot of people who are looking forward to it. It's a very popular away trip with the Arsenal fans. Obviously, there's boat trips down the river, and I think the away boys, the Arsenal band, are probably playing on one of the boats. So yeah, it's a huge away day that the Arsenal fans very much enjoy. But unfortunately, I won't be able to be there myself.
Well, Arsenal have been doing pretty good of late. 7 wins in a row, 5 of those coming in the Premier League. It was a bit of a shaky start to the Premier League this season, albeit against very, very good calibre of team. But you must be pleased with how things are going at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I think all Arsenal fans would be. I wouldn't say we're ebullient, but it's a nice habit to have, to be winning games when actually not playing brilliantly. Certainly not playing brilliantly for 90 minutes. There's so much improvement still to come. So to win 5 games in a row when there's still much, so much more to see from that team. And also, I think when he finally gets, settled on the actual team that he wants to play in the formation, because there's still quite a lot of tinkering and experimenting going on by Emery. So yeah, brilliant position to be in. I think we're 5th or 6th in the league, 4 points off the top, having already played 2 of our most difficult games. Yeah, so you take it, definitely.
Are you a little bit worried, though? The defence is still looking a bit porous. You've got away with it in a couple of games against Watford. Isaac's success really should have done better with his chance. You had the game against Cardiff where there were some good missed opportunities by them. The West Ham game, the Everton game. Certainly, you've been riding your luck a little bit, whilst obviously coming away with the good results, which, as you say, is all important. But it maybe gives us Fulham fans some hope that we will have a few opportunities on Sunday.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's concerned they're not going to score against Arsenal at the moment. That said, what has been really encouraging the last few games is the performances of Rob Holding, who for me was definitely man of the match at the weekend against Watford. Head and shoulders our best player on the day. And it will be very interesting to see what happens. He resisted the opportunity to bring Socrates back in that game because he was fit, he was on the bench. And it'll be very interesting to see, because Socrates has definitely been our standout defender, centrally, certainly, this season. And Mustafi's been the one who's been a little bit shakier. Holding's come in and done well. And Socrates generally played for Dortmund on the right. So he has the opportunity to play Socrates on the right and Holding on the left, and I think we may see that against you guys, and I hope we do. But bear in mind also, we've still got Laurent Koscielny, who's back in full training. So
your attacking threats are well known. Finally, someone is playing Aubameyang and Lacazette together. That front four with Ramsey and Ozil in there as well is certainly enough to cause any team a danger on their day. What will Fulham have to be wary of on Sunday? How do those?
Well, I hope you won't have to be wary of all 4 of those personally. The most Arsenal fans, whether they like each individual, would have to admit that the Ozil Ramsey thing is not working if you do want to play Lacazette and Aubameyang. So at the moment he's shoehorning those 4 talents into the attacking 4, but it isn't working. We looked, miles better and more balanced when Welbeck. Latterly, and initially Iwobi came on at the weekend. Iwobi, obviously with 2 assists in a matter of minutes, pretty much turned the game in our favour, and we just had more width and more cutting edge, with him in the side, which is a big call, I know. But Ramsey's not going to, hasn't signed a contract. Now the contract's been withdrawn, so you'd have to wonder whether he's going to continue to be selected in a side that is unbalanced because he's being selected. So I personally think Iwobi may well start. or indeed Mkhitaryan may come in because he's not travelling with us this week to the away game in Europe because of the political tensions in Baku between that country and his own country. So, Mkhitaryan's another option as well. So I'm fairly convinced that Ramsey won't start against you guys.
How much impact do you think that Europa League tie away on Thursday is going to have on Sunday's game? Of course, Arsenal are very experienced in playing away in Europe and coming back and having to perform in the Premier League, but it is a long way to go. How many of the lineups that you expect to see on Sunday do you expect to be starting in that game on Thursday?
Yeah, it's an interesting one because normally when you have a Thursday night game, you might play 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock on a Sunday, but obviously this is an earlier kickoff. So I know it's only a few hours, but it will make a difference.
Yeah.
And I think possibly only 4 or 5 potentially starters from Thursday night will start on Sunday, but because of the injuries, certainly to Koscielny and we'll have to be playing one of the centre backs in both games. And I think we'll probably give Kolasinac a run out on Thursday. So, he's back from injury. So I think it'll be a fairly similar team to the team that played against Watford that will play against you guys, possibly, as I say, with that one or two changes, maybe one different centre-back and one different sort of wide attacker. But, I don't think they'll have too many players who are going to have a full exertion of 90 minutes, certainly. On Thursday, we'll be facing you guys. So hopefully it won't impact us too much.
Much has been made of Bellerin and Monreal bombing forward. They're such brilliant attackers, but quite often leaving the Arsenal defence a little bit isolated. Now, Fulham play best when we can get the ball wide and hit the byline and find spaces, towards those areas of the pitch and those, right and left channels. Have they been getting a little bit better at timing their runs and timing their attacks so as to not leave Mustafi, Holding, Socrates, whoever's playing centre-back, too exposed?
Yeah, well, there's two answers to that question, and one relates to the fullbacks and one relates to a change in personnel in central midfield, because obviously, take that one first. Torreira's now not coming on in games, he's starting games, and obviously he's sitting a lot deeper than naturally, with more mobility than Xhaka would have done or Guendouzi. So if we start with Torreira, it gives a lot more solidity in front of the back four with a player who's naturally inclined to play that way. But that said, we still need to create a balance with Monreal and Bellerin both going forward at the same time, in my view. I think sometimes we're a bit too gung-ho. But Bellerin, who I've been quite critical of, that was his best game of the season against Watford. He did very well defensively and his positioning was a lot better. It is an issue. And again, that might be solved slightly by either Mkhitaryan or an Iwobi playing on the right and then moving Ozil into the middle, because they'll naturally work the flank a lot better defensively than Ozil will. So Bellerin might get a little bit more protection that way. But we remain to be seen. But they are improving. But you're right to highlight it as an issue, and I'm sure your manager's doing the same.
What have you made of Fulham from the amount of times that you've seen them this season? It's been a difficult start for us back in the Premier League, and I think we're looking at Wolves and feeling a bit jealous at how well their start's gone and wondering why maybe ours hasn't gone as well despite spending similar amounts of money. Are you worried about any players in particular on Sunday?
Yeah, well, the answer to me is obvious looking at from the outside looking in. It's not the amount of money you spend, it's the amount of players you spent it on. I think trying to change so many players in your first team, it straight away in the first game seemed like a recipe for disaster. And I've not seen a lot since that has made me change that view. And that's not to say that I don't think he's bought well. I think there are some fantastically exciting players at Fulham. I've always liked Schürrle. I think he's a great player. Seri's obviously an exceptional talent. But I think some of the players who got you there perhaps have been cast aside a little bit too soon. Certainly Kearney's not playing every week since he's been back from injury. I don't believe anyway. Yeah. But no, you're definitely a threat. Mitrovic is a big threat to to our centre backs, no doubt. He's very mobile for a big guy, and he's a threat in the air. And of course, as you highlighted with the fullback situation, Sessegnon, is a threat, and there's going to have to be a balance, on our right and your left there. And I'm sure that'll be a bit of toing and froing between Sessegnon and Bellerin all afternoon, to be honest. But no, I don't think you've got anything to worry about. I think Fulham will be, well clear of the relegation zone, and certainly should be looking upwards rather than downwards, by the turn of the year. But I just think you tried to change too many things too quickly.
Well, I certainly hope you're right on that front, Dave. Before I get your predictions, what are your favourite Fulham-Arsenal memories down the years? There's been some classic games. One that stands out in my mind was the 3-3 a few years ago, and Arteta missed that penalty in the last minute. We came back, then you equalised. I think that was
Giroud scored 2 in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, absolute humdinger game. Any other ones that stand out for you, maybe a bit more positive for Arsenal?
Well, certainly there was. I remember. I think it was a 3-1 where it was 2-1. It was a bit cat and mouse, and then Bergkamp scored an absolute classic sort of half volley from memory. But there's been a few over the years. I mean, I've always had a soft spot for Fulham, and I don't mean this in a condescending way. In that that a London club that isn't as much of a threat would be one way of looking at it, but it's not like that. I just like them. Great ground. Great tradition, great history, and I'm very much pleased to see you back in the Premier League. But as for individual games, I'm dreadful with that sort of thing. I go to so many home games. I do remember the 3-3 very, very clearly, but no, I can't think of anyone other than that sort of. I think it was in perhaps around 2001 when Bergkamp scored a corker. But no, other than that, sorry.
No, absolutely fine. I think I remember that game. I think it was one of our first ones back in the Premier League, and it was at Highbury. And I think we got ourselves back into the game. We thought we had a chance, and then seemed to remember Bergkamp scoring a
It was when Tigana was your manager, and you really made us fight hard. In fact, I think it might have even been 2-1. But I think it was 1-1 with about 10 or 15 minutes to go, and I think we maybe got 2 late goals. I think it was Henry and Bergkamp, but Bergkamp's was a drilled shot, a drilled volley from the edge, I think, from memory. It certainly sticks out in my mind.
Well, certainly when we came up to the Premier League, that was when you first... not when you first won the league, but it was another time that you won the league. Certainly around that period, Arsenal were the very, very dominant force, and we were one of your final games in your 38-game unbeaten run, I think, that in the Invincible season. I think we might have been your final away game that year. Reyes scored.
Yeah, and also I think that other one might have been, as you say, I think it might have been 2001, 2002 when we won the double, possibly, but no.
Right, Dave, prediction for Sunday. There's a few factors in there that we've mentioned. The Europa League, Fulham's poor form, Arsenal's exceptional form. How do you see it going on Sunday?
Well, certainly after the first 2 games, I think a lot of Arsenal fans looked at the fixtures and saw 8. We were talking about 8 winnable games, and if we could win 7 from the 8, so we've done 5. We've got 3 more to go before I think a big test against Tottenham. So Arsenal fans were hoping to take 3 points from Fulham. I do think it'll be tight, but I think the firepower, in our favour might just give us the edge. I'd probably go 2-1 to the Arsenal.
Well, Dave, thank you for joining us on Fulhamish today. Any Arsenal fans watching, where can they go find your stuff?
Well, I run a website called Gunnerstown. Obviously, I'm on the Little Bit Arsenal show on Love Sport Radio, which is tomorrow night between 7 and 8:30. And I have just finished my 3rd book, which will be out for pre-order by the end of the week. So it's called Arsenal's Double Double, which is a tribute to those 2 doubles we were just paying reference to. So
brilliant stuff, Dave.
All happening.
Thank you for joining us on Fulhamish.
Oh, thank you for inviting me. Been a pleasure.
Come on, Fulham.